It is Rob. That's Kristen over there. Game Plan You today. We are live on a Monday. Happy Monday, Kristen.
Happy Monday. How are you?
Fantastic. Isn't it just weird though, coming off of this weekend and just a weird weekend and just kind of a weird Monday? I don't know how you feel.
It is. It is. I'm now going, I guess I'm going on, I was away for 2 weeks and at this remote house in Mexico. So I'm going on this will be my third week in isolation or in quarantine. So it was definitely surreal this weekend and doing Zoom Easter celebrations with family and now having to start the week again and figure out, how do we live in this new world where we can't be next to each other, but we still have to function and do business and figure out things, down the line. So
It's just crazy. I know. So a couple housekeeping things. We're going to jump into it. So this is live. So there may be questions coming in with comments that we could pop up on the screen down below. You'll be able to, I'll read them and you can answer them if they do come in time. I may ask a question and pop it up there as well as you're talking. That's it. So it's kind of a go from here. So let's talk about you.
Okay.
You're the EVP Biz Dev at Vanguard Sports Group. You're the founder of K Sports and Entertainment. And you're also an attorney on top of it all. Like you don't have enough going on.
Yes. So I, right out of law school, I started at a sports agency called Wolf Associates, was there for a bunch of years, left to work at a venture capital firm, and a couple of clients left with me, one being Doug Flutie, and continued on to do his contract, got my NFLPA contract advisor certification, and then the Patriots had won the first Super Bowl then, and so started on the side from the venture capital side, started in the NFL representation, and then that expanded into a number of different facets. And I merged K Sports about 3 years ago with Vanguard Sports, which was founded by Joby Branyan. And so I'm doing business development with them, looking for different opportunities outside of the traditional marketing model that we've seen over the past. And then also I have my FINRA licenses with the broker dealer. So I work with companies through Charlestown Holdings, Charlestown Securities to help companies raise capital. And we do mergers and acquisitions. So it's been busy.
It sounds like it. So did you see it? Has it slowed down at all since the last month or so? Or you think are people more cautious now, or what's happening?
It's changed. It's a different kind of busy. Whereas, in the past you were, by now I would be just coming back from the Masters. I would have been getting ready for the NFL draft. Would have been at a bunch of pro days on the NFL side, and then a bunch of meetings, and I was part of the Roth Capital Conference, and from, a lot of in-person things have had to pivot. And so I've been really busy, but just doing things differently and doing a lot more Zoom conferences, a lot more conference calls, a lot more time to look at LinkedIn. I was part of Sport Techie, did a really interesting virtual conference, and they had a whole networking opportunity while you were, watching the conference virtually, and had a lot more follow up from that. So I think it's been busy, luckily, thankfully. But if sports don't happen this next year, such as the NFL, or things are changed, it's going to really affect, our athletes. It's going to affect any of the deal flow that we're working on in sports technology or elsewhere. And it's just a different way of trying to be creative and think of different ways to continue on in business without the traditional, everybody attending an event together.
So what is your process? What are you thinking of now? Because everybody's going through this. Either you're pivoting or you're creating vertical lines of business and revenue streams. What are you guys doing? What's your thought process in that regard?
Sure. We with our players, we're doing a lot on the gaming side and figuring opportunities for them.
Here we go. There's a cat attack. That's what you're doing. That's life. We're live. So what?
I don't have kids, but I have my
Yeah.
cat that
You got cats.
conference calls and make appearances
Yeah.
on podcasts. Um, so we're, from our athlete perspective, we are trying to be creative and looking for opportunities for them to make money, doing things virtually as opposed to in-person appearances. Looking to do more PSA type programs. I have a client that's going to do a video that is um, to promote, to thank all of the first responders, and working with a brand to do that. We're working again on the gaming. So a lot of our athletes are big gamers, and figuring out opportunities through Twitch and challenges and things that we could get brands involved in. On the conference and event business, we're looking at different technologies that can be utilized to host an event where you can still have your sponsors that still will pay, potentially have attendees that would pay or not pay, but have more attendees, which then helps the sponsors get visibility. And, from a capital raise side, we've been really looking at companies that right now are attractive for investors to be part of. We just went to market with a really interesting sleep technology. And for all of us that know that sleep is a huge part to build your immunity system. And so really looking at things that in this market, we can still do business in.
So from an investor perspective, especially with VC dollars, what are you looking for when you're evaluating startup talent right now? I mean, are you still out there aggressively looking for opportunities in the deal flow?
We are. From the chart, we had a conference call today with Charlestown Holdings, and now's the time that these companies need capital. They need money to survive, and there's a lot of really amazing opportunities still out there. I just had a call with Republic.co, which is the crowdfunding site, and their numbers are up because I think a lot of people are at home. They have a little bit more discretionary time to do things that they don't normally get to do, and they're doing micro investing. So it's a minimum of $100 you can become an angel investor in some of their deals. So really looking at what are the right fit. I think going out and making a gazillion calls to private equity firms is a little tough right now. It depends upon the type of deal that you're working on, I think. And so we're looking for companies to work with companies that we still believe have an opportunity to be successful in raising capital right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's shift off for a second. Let's shift off of kind of what's happening out in the marketplace. Let's look down in the future a little bit. What's your point of view on name, image, and likeness? What do you think is going to happen in that space? What legally do you think the NCAA could do as well?
Well, I mean, I think overall, in general, I'm finding that players are becoming much more smart about how their name likeness is being used, and considering that there's so many medium now that it can be. A lot of players, rather than just the quick, let me get paid, $100 grand, $200 grand, use my name and likeness in a promotion, in a sponsorship or an endorsement, they're looking more for that long-term opportunity. And they see successful athletes and entertainers making a lot more money by doing a deal in exchange for equity or royalty base, as opposed to just that quick, one-time pay. So I think that that's going to become more and more of what the athletes are looking to do overall. I think from the NCAA standpoint, these players have strong value in their name and likeness, these college players. And, the NCAA, while it wants to keep it in, an amateur type world, the colleges make a lot of money off these players playing. So I think that, that if there is going to be a way for these players to make money, I think it has to be guarded and really organized fashion in how the NCAA will allow that and how they can monitor it. Because where does it, a player, a college player can't necessarily negotiate his own deal. right? So do they hire a lawyer to do that and then pay the lawyer a percentage? Because they can't hire an agent or they violate their amateurism.
Right.
So, I think it has to be really well thought out. But I do believe that NCAA players should have the opportunity to make money.
I've been saying it for a while. I think it's at a point of, well, we know that it's not going to be if, it's going to be a when. And I think if they could change the dialogue to the position where the NCAA stands on it, and if it turns into an educational piece for the players, where
Right.
it's a part of a course, and if it's deferred compensation that they receive, just like the military at the academies at the end when they graduate, why not? I mean, if it's based on what they could track, if it's based upon merchandise, and if it's based upon kind of co-branding, images, and they could track that, and the money flows through the university to pay the players, they could hold it, and the players could either donate it back to the school, roll it over into a 401k, right, or whatever, start a foundation. So they could do anything. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's a key point is education. And that goes to, my point of, the athletes may not necessarily know right now what is the best format for them to take some of that money in. And, if they have any of their own ability to negotiate that, they don't know. So how do you educate them on that process?
Right. Yeah. I know it's going to be interesting what's going to happen. Let's hope that we get to that for the fall for everything we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Last question. And this is one that I usually ask depending on who's sitting in front of me. But this one, I just think you're going to have a great answer to.
Okay.
So advice that you would give to young executives and those kids that are coming out of graduating with a sport management degree or a business degree or a law degree and wants to be in sports and entertainment. What's your Jerry Maguire advice that you would give to somebody who's in that position right now?
Don't do it. No, only. I think that it's really understanding the reality of the business. And I think that too many students and anyone in general, they see the glitz and the glamour, and they think that it's this really glamorous business. And my first step whenever I talk to young students is really educating them that this is not a traditional business. This is not a 9 to 5. You go to your office, you come back. It is a lot of grind. It's you have players calling you at all times. If you're on the investment side, if you're on the sponsorship side, you're at games all the time with your sponsors. So you have to really be understanding that it's 24 hours a day that you sometimes are on call on the business side of it. From the agent side, a lot of people, think that being an agent is the end all be all, and they don't really understand that there are all these other avenues to work in sports. And, from the agent standpoint, NFL agents only make 3%. That's the maximum that they can make. And many are charging much less. And you have to put out a lot of money for these players to train for the combine and train for their pro days before the draft. And so you're out 25, 50 grand for a player. And if they're a 6th-round pick and they get $150,000 signing bonus and another $550, I forget next year with the new collective bargaining agreement what the minimum salary is, but let's just say that it's $550 and $150. That's 400. That's 700. You're making $21,000 off that one player, and that is only if the player makes the team. If they're on a practice squad, you don't get paid, and so you're already out $25K, $50K, and you have to figure out a way to make up that money and survive. And so, I try to say that, listen, there's opportunity to work at events, to work in sponsorship sales, to work on as in-house counsel, to work in broadcasting, to create a lot of different opportunities for yourself around sports that aren't necessarily being an agent. And if you still, after you're fully educated and all of that, want to be, then you go for it. But the hardest part, in the agency side is getting those clients and then keeping the clients happy. It's a very competitive business, as you know. And so I think you just have to go in with your eyes wide open and understand that. And then from a standpoint in any of it, in order to get a job in the sports industry, entertainment industry, you have to start as soon as you can of networking. And go on LinkedIn, see who you may have in common with. One of my interns who ultimately was hired a couple of years ago went on my LinkedIn. She saw who she had in common with. It was a kid who went to a neighboring high school, and she reached out to him and said, "You don't know me, but I know you interned at K Sports, and I'd love an intro if you don't mind." And thinking outside the box and really networking and being assertive. And even after you get that interview, you need to be assertive, because what happens with, I don't know if it happens to you, Rob, but it does to me. I have all intentions of getting back to everyone. And then, the prospective intern or the informational interview, that email falls to the bottom of the 400 emails that you get the next day, and the next, crazy business issue comes up that you're dealing with, and you don't get to it. So I find that the students that get the internships are the ones that are persistent and in a nice, respectful way continue and stay on it, and don't take it personally, because that's what it's like in the business world that we're in. You consistently have to pursue, whether it's teams, whether it's investors, whatever side, sponsors, whatever side of the business you're working on, you have to be assertive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's great advice. And it's just so hard sometimes because people don't see, especially young professionals, they don't see all the opportunities. They only see the ones that that are on TV, or I want to be a general manager, or I want to work for ESPN, or I want to be an agent. But there's so many layers to that and underlying, and not all of them are worth willing to put in the effort. So
right, exactly.
But you are a power broker, an investor, sports marketing guru. You certainly have made a name for yourself in this industry, obviously, and I'm glad we were able to connect. And I will look forward to working with you down the line somewhere.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Appreciate the opportunity, Rob. And you forgot cat herder as well.
And the cat herder, right? The wrangler, the cat wrangler. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on over there at that house, but
I think they're just sick of seeing me every day. They're not used to it. Usually,
yeah.
I'm not smiling.
I love it. Well, that's Kristen. I'm Rob. This is Game Plan You today. Have a great week, everybody. Kristen, thanks again for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Rob, and thanks, Game Plan You. I appreciate it.